In Israel's ancient past, during times of foreign oppression, unexpected heroes rose when the covenant people cried out for help. This is the story of Judge Ehud, a left-handed warrior who ended Moabite rule and restored freedom through a bold, divinely guided act. Crimson sun sank over Canaan's hills as Israel groaned under King Eglon of Moab, their cries rising like incense to heaven. For 18 years, the chosen people endured oppression, their spirit crushed and faith refined by suffering. Golden temple treasures poured into Moabite coffers while Hebrew children knew only servitude and shame under foreign masters. Each harvest brought fresh humiliation as conquerors seized the fruits of Israelite labor, leaving barely enough grain to survive the harsh winter. The streets of once proud cities echoed with the heavy footsteps of foreign soldiers, their presence a constant reminder of defeat and subjugation. Mothers wept in silence as their sons bowed before alien gods, forced to abandon the faith of their fathers for the religions of their oppressors and conquerors. Ancient synagogues stood empty and silent, their doors barred by Moabite decree, while the sacred scrolls gathered dust in hidden chambers. The sound of Hebrew prayers was replaced by the harsh commands of foreign overseers who showed no mercy to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In the darkest hour, when hope seemed a fading memory, vanishing like stars before the dawn of another day in bondage, the Almighty stirred the heart of an unlikely champion. From the tribe of Benjamin came Ehud, son of Jerah, a left-handed man whose nature became his greatest weapon against tyranny and oppression. The divine calling burned within Ehud's soul like a sacred flame that could not be extinguished by wind, water, or the threats of mortal enemies. Heaven itself had chosen this humble warrior to break the chains that bound Israel and restore the covenant promise made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the days of old. As storm clouds gathered over the ancient Near East, Ehud crafted his strategy with the precision of a master tactician and the wisdom of the ages. His plan fused human cunning with divine purpose, unleashing a storm of liberation that would shake the foundations of Moabite power across the region. The psychological battle started long before any sword was drawn, as Ehud patiently observed his enemy like a hunter tracking deadly prey. Moabite customs, the king's habits, and the palace guard's routines all became tools of liberation and divine justice. In the depths of his workshop, away from prying eyes and listening ears that might betray his sacred mission, Ehud forged a weapon that would echo through the ages. The double-edged sword, measuring exactly 1 cubit in length, represented more than mere metal and steel forged in earthly fire and human skill. Each hammer blow that shaped the blade was a prayer ascending to the throne of the Almighty, each sharpening stroke a covenant with destiny itself. This was no ordinary weapon but an instrument of divine justice, crafted to pierce through the heart of tyranny itself and restore righteousness to the land of promise. The metal sang with each strike of the hammer, as if the very elements conspired to create this tool of liberation and deliverance. Ehud worked through countless nights, his hands guided by divine inspiration, creating a masterpiece that would change the course of history and the destiny of nations. The blade gleamed with an otherworldly light, its edge sharp enough to cut through the strongest armor and the hardest hearts of oppressors. Every fold in the metal spoke of divine craftsmanship working through human hands to accomplish the impossible task. The day of reckoning arrived as Ehud approached the palace gates, bearing tribute like countless others before him in forced submission to foreign rule. But hidden beneath his robes lay the key to Israel's freedom, secured against his right thigh where none would think to search a left-handed man. King Eglon, bloated with the wealth of his conquered subjects, received the tribute with the arrogance of absolute power coursing through his veins like poison. Little did he know that his final moments on earth were already being counted down by the hand of Providence itself, and that justice was walking through his palace doors. The throne room fell silent as Ehud requested a private audience, claiming to bear a secret message from the God of Israel himself. The king's curiosity proved stronger than his caution, sealing his fate with a single nod of permission that would echo through eternity and change the course of history. Guards stepped aside as the Hebrew messenger was granted access to the inner chambers, their vigilance dulled by routine and complacency born of years of unchallenged power. The trap was set, the stage prepared for the most dramatic act of liberation in the chronicles of the ancient world and the annals of sacred history. In the cool chamber of the upper room, away from prying eyes and listening ears that might witness the moment of divine judgment, destiny prepared to strike with swift justice. The moment had arrived for divine judgment to manifest through human courage and unwavering faith in the promises of the covenant God of Israel. With lightning speed that defied human perception and mortal expectations, Ehud drew his hidden blade and plunged it deep into the king's massive belly. The sword vanished completely into the tyrant's flesh, fat sealing over the hilt like a tomb closing forever in the darkness of death and judgment. The deed was done, the oppressor's reign ended in a single, decisive moment that would reshape the future of nations and peoples for generations to come. Death came swiftly to the one who had dealt death to so many innocent souls, his blood crying out for justice finally answered by the hand of divine providence. Ehud's escape from the palace required nerves of steel and the favor of heaven itself guiding his every step through the labyrinthine corridors of power. He locked the chamber doors behind him and walked calmly through the corridors, his mission accomplished but his work far from over in the grand design of liberation. The guards discovered their fallen king too late, their confusion and panic providing the precious time needed for freedom's architect to reach safety beyond the palace walls. By the time they broke down the doors, Ehud had vanished like morning mist before the rising sun, leaving only justice in his wake and the promise of deliverance. From the heights of Mount Ephraim, the sound of the trumpet shattered the evening stillness like thunder from heaven itself echoing across the valleys. Ehud's call to arms echoed across the valleys, summoning the tribes of Israel to their moment of destiny and divine deliverance from the bondage of foreign oppression. Warriors emerged from hiding places where they had waited for generations, their hearts ablaze with the fire of liberation burning bright within their souls. The time for submission had ended. The hour of victory had finally dawned upon the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the inheritors of the covenant promise. The battle cry of Israel rang out across the Jordan Valley as Ehud led his people in their charge toward freedom and glory on the field of battle. Every step forward erased 18 years of humiliation and restored the dignity of God's chosen nation to its rightful place among the peoples of the earth. The Moabite forces, leaderless and demoralized by the sudden death of their king, crumbled before the righteous fury of the Israelite army like wheat before the harvest side. What had seemed like an impossible dream became glorious reality as the oppressors fled in terror before the advancing tide of liberation and divine justice. The fords of the Jordan ran red with the blood of Israel's enemies as divine justice claimed its due payment for years of oppression and cruelty. Not a single Moabite warrior escaped the righteous wrath of the people they had so long oppressed and humiliated with their cruel dominion and heartless rule. Victory belonged to Israel, complete and absolute, as the sun rose over a land finally free from foreign domination and the crushing weight of tyranny. The chains of slavery lay broken, scattered like dust before the wind of God's deliverance and the power of his mighty arm stretched out for salvation. For 80 years, the land rested in peace under the shadow of Ehud's triumph, a golden age of prosperity and freedom unprecedented in the region. Children grew up hearing tales of the left-handed judge who had delivered their nation from the grip of tyranny with courage and faith as his weapons. The legacy of courage and faith echoed through generations, inspiring new heroes to rise whenever darkness threatened the light of freedom and justice. Ehud's name became a symbol of divine calling and human obedience united to achieve the impossible and restore hope to the hopeless. Merchants traveled safely along the ancient roads while farmers tended their fields without fear of foreign raiders or tribute collectors demanding their harvest. The sound of laughter replaced the cries of anguish as prosperity returned to the land like spring after a harsh winter of suffering and oppression. Temples were rebuilt and the worship of the true God was restored throughout the territories of Israel's inheritance and covenant promise. The covenant relationship between heaven and earth was renewed as the people remembered their identity as the chosen nation of the Almighty and his special possession. Young warriors trained in the ways of warfare while elders passed down the sacred stories of deliverance and divine intervention in times of crisis. The memory of Ehud's courage became a beacon of hope for all who faced seemingly impossible odds against overwhelming enemies and insurmountable obstacles. The name of the left-handed judge spread beyond the borders of Israel, striking fear into the hearts of potential oppressors and would-be conquerors. Nations learned that the God of Israel would not abandon his people but would raise up deliverers in their darkest hour of need and desperation. Trade flourished as peace extended its wings over the region, bringing prosperity and abundance to a land that had known only want and suffering. The sounds of construction replaced the cries of battle as cities were rebuilt and fortified against future threats to freedom and independence. Scholars and scribes recorded the deeds of the great deliverer, ensuring that future generations would remember the price of freedom and the power of faith. The story of Ehud became a cornerstone of Hebrew literature and a testament to the enduring covenant between God and his chosen people. Children played in streets that had once echoed with the march of foreign soldiers, their laughter a symphony of freedom and hope. The elderly who had lived through the dark years of oppression wept tears of joy as they witnessed the fulfillment of prayers they had whispered in secret. The spiritual renewal that followed the liberation was as profound as the political transformation that swept across the nation. Priests emerged from hiding to restore the ancient rituals and ceremonies that connected the people to their divine heritage and covenant promises. This legendary tale of sacred warfare shows that even in darkness, heroes rise to restore hope and justice through divine calling and shared courage. If Judge Ehud's epic victory inspired you, subscribe, like, and share this video with others who need these timeless stories of faith and bravery.